Welcome back to the stage in Wuhan for more fights between the teams in Group D. We are counting down towards our next game between TSM and the Flash Wolves. And TSM, after winning the last game, things are looking better, but they are not there yet.
No, but things are looking a lot better for TSM, quite frankly, with the next game that they're going to be playing as well against the Flash Wolves. Haven't been looking good so far at Worlds, where TSM, they're coming into this with momentum because of the fact they're playing back-to-back.
I do agree, but if you think back to the Flash Wolves versus TSM game, that was not a clean game. That was not a dominant game. So while everyone might be saying, Flash Wolves 0-5, right? They can still play spoiler here. If they actually take down TSM, TSM is then dependent on WE to actually beat Misfits and force a tiebreaker. So definitely need to be able to win out here to keep your hopes alive.
Yep, certainly better to control your own fate rather than have another team do it for you. As you can see, the standings are in Group D. We did expect this group to be pretty topsy-turvy. Wildly have clearly surged ahead today, but there's still spots to play for. WE are locked, but the second seed is not, and it could still be anyone with, unfortunately, the exception of the Flash Wolves, who at this point are playing for pride and to spoil TSM's day.
And we still could have a lot of games left. We could be forcing tiebreakers here. If TSM wins and then Misfits beats WE, that is a three-way tie at 4-2, and it could end up in a very, very crazy end of the day.
Yeah, and we came into today and I said that the team Flash Wolves beats may be the reason they're not going to get into the playoffs. They could actually cause that upset.
Well, we have a look at TSM's early game in group stage at this World. It has not been good.
Last place for First Blood. No First Bloods for TSM this tournament. Last in goal difference of 15. Their opponents' turrets at 15 are pretty much the best in the tournament. That's what it means. So really, TSM has been struggling massively. You can blame some on draft choices, but you cannot blame all of it on draft choices because many teams in this tournament are drafting towards the late game. So TSM clearly has some adjustments that they need to make, not only in this game, but if they're hoping to go forward, they would need to make some serious changes.
Well, going to be playing it safe here, you have to think, in that final game-ish, depending on tie breaks. But today here in the group stage, Ezreal will band away, Galio going to join him, and then Flash Wolves with the Kalista ban, and 2 more to go.
Flash Wolves, while they certainly have not played well this tournament, you know, it's no use sugarcoating it. They have not looked like a top team. I think definitely a very disappointing showing for the Flash Wolves and for the LMS overall, with this team being so good for them. Their early game is a strength. Their late game is abysmal, though. And really, to me, it comes down to, can Flash Wolves snowball hard enough that a poor late game does not matter? Right?
Makes you wonder how hard that is going to be with the Flash Wolves who are struggling to close.
15K gold, who knows?
Real tough task though for the Flash Wolves, even with that early lead, knowing that TSM may index towards late game.
And I would feel like if I'm TSM, I think that drafting some early game strength, right? You don't want to fall too far behind against the Flash Wolves because that is where they are best. If you can get to the later stages of the game with around an even gold lead, this tournament has shown that Flash Wolves do not know what to do. They are not able to play around Baron. They're not able to play in the side lanes very effectively. I would say that Maple really kind of has been the exception to that, who has still been impressing me with his macro play, teleport Corki games, was able to make some things happen for the team. But as a whole, it really does feel like if you get to late game against Flash Wolves, they will lose.
All right, so kind of curious bands here. TSM picked Xayah as their last one, but Hauntzer now, which did deliver them a 5-man late game Nah ulti the last time they played, and Jarvan actually going to be banned away here.
I would like to see TSM pick Janna first. Lulu has not been nearly as effective in this tournament. I do not like the pick. Yes, Lulu has some different strengths. Yes, Lulu is more of a lane bully, but to me, the investment in that early pick has not been paying off in the way it needs to make it worthwhile, because Janna is so much better in the later stages of the game.
There may not be a duo lane you're super afraid of either. Tristana is an AD carry that TSM have shown that they definitely enjoy as well. Even as a first pick, Janna or Tristana to me stand to attention, but knowing perhaps that Betty's a Kog'Maw player, the Lulu is a very good denial pick ultimately.
Certainly fair, but we will see how it's going to pan out here for TSM. I mean, certainly don't need to pick the Janna just right now, but you can go for Sejuani, a denial pick. Then you can actually grab up the Janna as your third pick, which is what we were expecting. And just to talk a little bit about it, I mean, Lulu is hovering somewhere around the low to mid 40s in win rates right now throughout the world's group stages, where Janna is well up above 70% win rate. It's just proven to be so much more effective in a game where people have not been able to push the pace. They have not been able to dominate the early game. And if TSM wants to index more towards that, perhaps we could see the Lulu be more effective.
Well, pretty monumental shift here on the other side for Flash Wolves, but not the case certainly for TSM. Sorry, shifting win rate, I mean, between Lulu and Janna. Still, they do go for the Lulu. They lock in Gragas, so Svenskeren on the next tank in line from the jungle. And I think Tristana, you pointed out already, Rusty, seems to be the obvious pick here for TSM.
They could look towards a Twitch still. Doublelift has been playing it on the day-to-day. But Tristana does make a lot of sense if you want to have a controlling and pushing 2v2 lane. Varus is the low-range version or equivalent of that, but this still makes the most sense.
I also just think that straight-up Doublelift has had his best games on this champion. He has been exceptional on it. Even in the games where they have been behind, he's been able to buffer almost every CC consistently. He's been able to contribute the late game damage, and giving them a way to have some of the early game pressure. If you're thinking about drafting specifically against this team, hey, maybe this is the way to do it. Even if Flash Wolves have stronger late game picks with Sejuani and Kog'Maw and Janna, well, if you can put them behind early, it's not really going to matter because they've shown that they can't actually navigate the late game stages.
Well, 6 pretty predictable picks here in this draft as Flash Wolves do get their hands on the Janna, so we turn our attention to the solo lanes this time around and see what is going to be taken away from Bjergsen, Hauntzer, Maple, and MMD.
We've often seen a lot of mid lane focus with the second phase bans as well. Cassiopeia was very good from Bjergsen in the last game. Orianna's also a usual ban here that'll come across through these ban phases. But ultimately, you are against Hauntzer. There is a chance that you try and get rid of some extra champions from him. I know the Nara is gone. And are they comfortable with Hauntzer playing a tank matchup? Is Hauntzer comfortable playing a tank matchup?
I certainly think he would be. You know, if I'm Flash Wolves, I feel like you have to play to your strengths. And to me, the strength has been Maple, right? You're on the red side. You have last pick for Maple. Target Bjergsen in the bans. See if Maple can actually take over a game. See if he can get you that victory to avoid the 0-6 and perhaps spoil North America's chances at a quarterfinal.
In that case, to me, then, it's Ryze, Cassiopeia, and you pick Syndra for Flash Wolves. Perhaps the way to go.
Well, with TSM's Lucian ban, I feel like Syndra might be on the menu as the next ban away. Not wanting to give Maple too much agency in that early stages of the game. Flash Wolves, though, still considering this final ban. It will be LeBlanc, actually. So haven't seen this too much from Bjergsen lately, but certainly a pick that both these mid laners can play.
And Syndra can still work very well into Cassiopeia. There are, you know, some options. There's Cassio, there's things like Talia. There are a number of choices, but generally speaking, Syndra has favorable matchups against most mid laners, and certainly the ones left on the table could be a pretty good option for Maple. You can also go towards something like a Corki, though, for Bjergsen, itemize a little bit of early MR, as we see that matchup quite frequently.
Well, there's actually a Jace ban from TSM, so taking a carry for an aggressive early pick out of the solo lanes, and Flash Wolves, we'll see if they want to go with top lane. I mean, they have to give over a counter pick here.
Yes.
We've seen so many drafts work out this way, so Maple decides, I'll stay consistent, I'll take the Corki.
Now, TSM got rid of 2 physical damage dealers that could be picked in the mid lane as well. And Corki is primarily going to be magic damage, as is the Kog'Maw through itemization as well as the W. And there is this world now where TSM have seen the Corki and they say, well, we just pick Cho'Gath, we build a million adaptive helms and Ninja Tabi, and we just run over Flash Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the issue that we've seen for these style of compositions. If you are going to go for a Kog'Maw, that really does push you over to much more heavily magic damage, and people like the Gragas, like the Cho'Gath, love itemizing in towards magic resistance into things like the Spirit Visage and the adaptive helm, and it becomes so ridiculously efficient as you get to the later stages of the game. So once again, it does feel like doubly so. Flash Wolves are dependent on a strong early game.
There's the Cho'Gath, though, for Hauntzer, kind of taking the maybe more favorable tank matchup as we've seen. And last pick for TSM.
We could still see, though, the top lane counter pick of something like a Trundle, something to help actually shred through and perhaps add over a little bit of physical damage, a side lane threat. I think that could be something that makes some sense. But you know, besides that, I'm not really seeing something here for Flash Wolves. I don't think that Shen makes a tremendous amount of sense when you're already so heavily towards the magic damage. Renekton also another option, more pure physical damage.
Yeah, something physical is nice to have. You're absolutely right. Trundle is a possibility. Renekton, perhaps a decent team fighter just as much as Trundle is, with a bit more lane, wave clear pressure, in other words. Not just killing the Cho'Gath, but controlling the minion waves. This all empowers Karsa just that little bit more. If mid's a Corki that can clear waves, top lane might have a bit of control. Karsa and Flash Wolves, who do like to be aggressive earlier on in the game, can do exactly that, start invading.
Yeah, and it can give you that pressure point in the top lane, because while I do think that Trundle should be favored in the later stages of the game, scales exceptionally well, can take over in split push duties, Renekton is a lane bully. It's someone that can get aggressive, can put a Cho'Gath behind, and with some assistance from Karsa on the Sejuani, perhaps that can be a pressure point through which Flash Wolves can get ahead.
Well, we'll have to see just how good Flashwell's early game is still looking. It's been good all day, but unfortunately for them, still hunting for their first win, despite the chances at the rest of the tournament not being there. TSM, though, still very much in it. Would love to win this one to give themselves the best possible chance.
Yeah, and avoid being 0-6 at Worlds in the group stage as well. They need that victory. Flashwells will be hungry for it, but TSM even more so, you would have to imagine, needing this win, trying to get themselves into a tiebreaker, getting into the quarterfinals for all of NA.
It's just so interesting to talk about expectations for this group versus reality, right? Coming into the tournament, a lot of players were talking about the strength of Flashwell Vin scrims in the bootcamp, in preparation. People were talking about the weakness of Misfits and how this was supposed to be an easy group. WE underestimated by many, based on play-in results, based on play and playoff results in the LPL. And so many of these teams have shown up and played a really strong game and made this group anyone's.
Certainly been pretty topsy-turvy, but a 5-man synchronized flare for TSM will signal their potential, and I think for them, hopefully their final entrance onto the Rift.
It's the best coordination they've shown in the early game so far.
It's not a rank 16 flare, I'll give you that one, Azael. And through the early game, it's more than just the flares we'll have to see from TSM. We already mentioned this through the draft phase. Flashwells may be early aggressive plays coming out from them. The early tempo through the top and mid lane respectively as solo laners might empower Karsa through the jungle, and now Svenskeren has a big role to play as well. How will he path? How will he get around the Rift?
Yeah, and I mean, for TSM, I think a lot of it is going to be about the bot lane pressure that they can create. This is not a game in which they have 3 losing lanes. This is a game where bot lane they can shove. They can go and push in on the turret, and if it's misplayed from Betty and SwordArT, they can get themselves in a situation where you are chunked down and could be facing a dive from Svenskeren. The flash body slam on Gragas, famously is a lot of early game ganking power.
And speaking towards the 2v2 though in the bottom lane, the Tristana going for a Relic Shield build first instead of going Doran's Blade or Doran's Shield himself means that he's being a bit more passive than anything else. Doesn't necessarily want to win the lane, just wants to keep the push going with the Lulu there. Up against the Janna and a Kog'Maw, more often than not, you'll see Betty try and hit Doublelift opposed to the minions to try and match that trade. Say, well, you can try and push the minions in, we're going to kill you instead.
Well, blue buff here for TSM, same side there for Flashwolves, so we'll see where Sven and Karsa put their early attention. Certainly Karsa's been a lot more aggressive today, and one of the reasons they have gotten some good footholds in the early game, but TSM, I mean, this is about as standard as it comes, I think, for comps they're happy to play, and for potentially, again, their last game here in the group stage, they'll be happy to just play something they know, and I think eyes do have to be on the bot lane here, especially on Doublelift. They've not looked too stable, so this is a good game to just play something very comfy and just try and play it out to the mid-game.
And especially when you have drafted for the early advantage, when you have the Lulu over the Janna, you have the Tristana over the Kog. This is a lane you're expected to win, so it's really a no excuses situation if you lose the straight up 2v2.
Sorry, I'm just quietly judging Betty for his last hitting on those first waves. He's only got 3, he's just picked up a 4. They are struggling, and it may be pressure that TSM are going to start putting down with this wave, but he just missed a few, and that felt bad.
Looks like Karsa's also not heading down there. Did actually take the red buff after clearing blue side, so could just be a full clear, but we'll see if he does show some attention here to top lane. MMD definitely has a lead in the early game in his matchup.
You also have to remember that with the Infernal on the bot side, that is a little bit of luck going the way of TSM, because if you have bot lane priority and you can be able to get the push, shove them back, that can unlock an early Infernal Dragon, which can give you a big advantage going into mid lane.
Well, Betty taking a good trade there as level 2 for TSM, able to chunk them out. Sven, very interesting part, sneaking behind the Drake to get that Scuttle Crab, but Karsa is trying something here in the top lane.
Yeah, it means there's a world where towards the top lane they can try and get in. He's gone through the turret.
Oh, great stun, going to permafrost it up as well. Rupture not going to be it here. Is Hauntzer going to try and maybe flash away? I don't think he can do it. Red buff, almost enough. He flashes up at Karsa. Q and flash through for first blood.
Very
Really
nice
nice.
snipe. Yeah.
Good stuff from Karsa, pathing to their strength. MMD is going to be bullying this lane. He was able to bounce the wave very early, so he was actually pushing away from Hauntzer, getting him into this awkward spot, and Karsa able to capitalize, just straight up walks through the turret with the Sejuani passive, not taking that much damage.
Yeah, super creative, very unique from the Sejuani here for Flashwolves, and the opposite side of the map, you were seeing a Gragas work down towards there.
Ooh, Doublelift goes straight in onto Betty. Barrier forced to be used there. They're going to keep going. Heal barrier popped on the other side. Biofrost still trying to deal some damage here.
Gotta to be a little bit careful about that for TSM, though. In the extended trades, Kog'Maw with the W up is so strong. So it's generally about getting a quick trade, forcing that W out, and then kind of backing off until it's down. And as you see, TSM engage that, but they're the ones who actually have to spend both summoners. So TSM certainly at a disadvantage because of that.
As summoners are concerned, they did lose that trade. They're still pushing, still pressuring, and trying to prioritize just keeping Flash Wolves down. However, you're starting to get that inkling of a Janna Kog'Maw ramping up.
We'll see if Hauntzer, I believe you actually can see that passive go over onto the Renekton from the Sejuani in the bush. So we'll see if Hauntzer actually did spot that. They may be looking for him again here. I think they're going to go.
Oh, now Caesar. I think Hauntzer, no, going to keep going for it, but just a bit of a trade there. Sven also coming up, so could be a 2v2 brewing here. Sven already here now. For the stun lands in, Biofrost again will chain through. Hauntzer just taking too much damage. Sven here way too late, and Hauntzer goes down. Now Sven forced to flash.
Yeah, Svenskeren had no business going in for that. Once Hauntzer is already down, it cost him his own flash. More success on the top side here for MMD and the Flash Wolves, and he purchased up a call, so he's going to be getting a lot of extra gold here in the early stages. And the second death is really the one that hurts, because it's the one that you can't just teleport back from.
Yeah.
It's the one that you start to lose experience on. You lose wave control, and if MMD comes back to the lane with the Tiamat, you know, he can hold the lane in such a way that it's very, very dangerous.
The teleport death is always going to be the tilter. It felt like Hauntzer was indirectly, he was trying to bait, you know, but I feel like the bait was just too obvious, and they'll have so much damage anyway between a Renekton and a Sejuani that there was always going to be a kill. Benefit of the doubt that it was a bait and that they were looking to just gank the top lane, but not to have a 2v2, I would imagine.
And credit to Karsa, who has not been having a great Worlds, right? Who has been traditionally this big star, this incredible duo with Maple, finding a lot of early game success here for the Flash Wolves and, you know, giving them a way in.
Well, looks like Sven and Bjerg might be hunting for the jungler. Karsa is back down to the bot side as Doublelift taking a lot of damage here in that initial trade. Again, Kog'Maw with that W ready is very strong as Sven does spot Karsa in the river, forcing him back towards his blue buff.
Yeah, these two still going at each other in the bottom lane, both having Warlord's Bloodlust, and they'll be okay. It's a Targods compared to a Doran Shield. Lots of regeneration, just heavy health trades between them. Basically, it just means the 2v2 are very busy with one another, and if a jungler appears, suddenly it becomes a dangerous prospect.
And I actually think that the Phage purchase was so smart for MMD because now he can fully freeze the wave. He's not going to kind of passively push it out. Some trading going back and forth here, but if we look up to the top side at Renekton, he has fully created a freeze up there. He's holding all the minions coming in. He's trying to completely deny not only the CS, the gold, but the experience from Hauntzer. And Hauntzer now basically has to go on a safari. He's
eating some fruit.
He's dumpster diving, trying to find gold here and there.
Well, he finds honey fruit instead, and they're going to go back to
big
base,
jump.
keep going, but Doublelift actually knocked up. Sven's still down the bot lane, so trying to maybe get something done onto Betty. The bait is not quite juicy enough.
No, not at all. The cancel on the jump from SwordArT is the real MVP there. Betty was not slowed down at all. No opportunity for Svenskeren to come in, and he doesn't have the flash. So they needed him to just be in body slam range, and that was but a pipe dream for TSM right now. It was just a reset, just a free recall for TSM. That was what they were really after.
2 levels down now for Hauntzer, and this is where Svenskeren needs to be topside. If you get dove on this wave that you have been denied for so long, you essentially just want to leave the game as a top laner. Like, this is the most critical time in the game right here because he is down 2 levels. He needs to be defended. They have spotted him out. We can see Biofrost is heading up, but if Hauntzer is denied this experience after so long, it's so detrimental to you being able to do anything in this game. And for now, he's completely out of range. He can't even get the experience, let alone the gold.
The thing is, Maple is invisible, which is why he was afraid for quite some time. People from TSM come up to help Hauntzer now. He'll be okay. But Corki's gone back to get a package, and I feel like from the moment the loud sirens go off is when everyone says, okay, that's what it is. He's in base, not actually top lane.
And although it looks like such a small thing, just the fact that Biofrost and Svenskeren head up there allows him to move forward and actually start to farm. And that is so big for TSM in this game because Hauntzer is already very far behind, but he needs the experience at the bare minimum.
Ooh, Maple grounded for a second, got the package, so should be all right to get out, does use it, gets himself out safely, but the big Raptor stays alive.
Yeah, very clear indicator that Flash Wolves aren't trying to make a play immediately. He's just looking for the small chickens. He'll get them and he will get out okay. Bjergsen still having a lot of control through this middle lane though. His trades are going decently well. Very good game last game from Bjerg, and now it's the same champion, round 2.
Gonna keep moving forward there. Maple threatening with a couple rockets. It looks like Karsa has popped his head back into this top lane. Hauntzer, flash ready to go. Will he get out of this gank?
I mean, part of the problem that makes it even worse for Hauntzer is when you're stuck in trying to last hit from range, all of your abilities are AoE.
Yeah.
Your E is AoE, your W, your Q, everything is AoE, which just inherently pushes the wave even more. Allows, again, MMD to set up a freeze, and you're in this situation where you're like, well, the jungler's probably here, but what can you do? You can't allow yourself to be starved of experience. You at least need some levels so that there's a hope of coming back into the game later.
And even then, the jungler may not be here, but I can't see him, so is he? I can't push up anymore. Yeah, the amount of respect that has to be shown by Hauntzer. He's still getting experience, which is good for him to have, but at the same time, he is not last hitting those minions, and it feels real bad.
Yeah, at least third time's the charm here. Hauntzer respecting the pressure that Karsa is invisibly putting out. Although another jump here, another good tornado from SwordArT, but Betty gonna get knocked up with a wild growth. Monsoon's gonna reset up a Doublelift, gonna go back in. Sven here, gonna miss that first flash body slam. Another TP in, SwordArT gets low, but the barrel left behind cancel.
Yeah, that was canceled by Maple. Maple actually TPing in there, and MMD looking for an all-in on Hauntzer now. He's gonna have to run.
Hauntzer gets the rupture, has the flash, but MMD can follow. Won't do so this time. Hauntzer gets out.
And that's the go signal for the top lane if you're MMD, knowing that the bottom lane is fighting. Yes, it's Maple's teleport that's cancelled. He still has the ability to move.
Yeah, they're trying to do this play once again. Maple going up to the top side, deny Hauntzer this whole wave that has been frozen, then slowly built up and pushed in, and Hauntzer gonna have to give it up over 2 levels down basically now once all this experience is lost. So he's hoping that at least he can get the minions. Playing it very respectfully though. He has to be this defensive, and this is well done on both sides. You know, Flash Wolves really are getting the most out of this advantage, and the question is going to become, can they now snowball with this Renekton? What can you get done with him?
And that's the key thing. It's MMD that has all of the gold, gets the first turret solo, gets the CS advantage, has the kill. The difference between them is unbelievable.
That's 2,000 gold between the top laners.
Over 2,000 gold at 11 minutes in the 1v1 is just disgusting when you're already at that early disadvantage, but the light at the end of the tunnel for Hauntzer is if he can actually just now freeze the wave for himself, start to farm it out. If you can stabilize, being down 50 CS, that's never good. But as a tank, as a Cho'Gath who's going to scale very well into later stages of the game, it's okay. It is not a game-losing thing necessarily if you can keep it here.
Now I'm an LPL caster, Azael, and if someone says the word freeze, I already think that's a game-ending decision, because usually the other team, and you know, Flash Wolves are an Eastern team, they have a very similar play style, will probably dive in the other side of the map. You freeze top lane, they're already bottom diving your 2v2. So you have to respect that, and that could be really unfortunate for TSM if a teleport is forced by Hauntzer if he tries to freeze.
Yeah, and it's also why Hauntzer looks like he's probably not going to freeze. He's just going to push it out. He has to give respect to the fact that the Renekton doesn't have to continue bullying him. He can take that advantage and go elsewhere. Remember, again, the Infernal is that first dragon, and TSM did not get an advantage bot lane that led to that dragon. So MMD can use his advantage to try to unlock.
Jungler's going to meet against Sven. Maybe in trouble of getting ulted again by Sejuani, but now going to chase it back in onto Karsa with the bot lane pushed in. That's going to force a flash. Sven does burn the ult, but Karsa, he'll get away.
Inside track there for the bottom lane of TSM, so Karsa has to respect it. And whilst he respects it, it gives more time for the rest of TSM to come in. They know his flash is gone. It was a good trade for them, ultimately.
Power play healer from TSM trying to force onto the blue buff.
Yeah, they want to try to take this away, but remember, TP is available from that Renekton. He's at such a stronger point, so if it breaks out into a 5v5, it could be very detrimental for TSM. And TP is coming in now. TSM needs to disengage.
All right, cancel from MMD. So blue buff will go over to Maple, but half the teleport cooldown committed to make sure that happens.
And that was actually very well done, because to your point, Rusty, you know, that is kind of the threat of MMD now. If he's going to go back to top lane, he needs the teleport. So Hauntzer's job now is just try to hold it even, try to survive up there, because now you have this big window where Renekton can only 1v1.
There's a long way for Hauntzer to try and run away from, though. Flash is still up here. Is Hauntzer going to try and get out? Rupture's good, but he flashes past it. Hauntzer now going to flash out of the way! And I don't know where to go from here, but he's not dead yet.
Yeah, he's on the wrong side of the rift. He's probably going to try and get out. Maybe
TP.
Teleport to base. He'll do his best. MMD does not know where he is. I'm actually assuming he'll get out here.
Sneaking
No, he's going to go to
Oh.
a minion wave. He's executing.
All right, going to try and get out. Eats a minion, gets a stack, and goodbye, everybody. I'll see you in 30 seconds.
The ship's going down. That minion's coming with me.
Got the feast stack, work.
All right, well, MMD, good little attempt there, but Hauntzer gets himself out without giving any extra gold over. Doublelift back in again. SwordArT with the same play. I've seen this as double insects Betty, but now the TP
from Maple.
Maple can join the fray. Monsoon resets from SwordArT. 3v3. Knockup there is wonderful, but Biofrost taking the damage. Package is massive. Oh, wild growth, not enough for the
Bjergsen is
last
coming
rocket.
down, though. They could potentially turn this.
Doublelift looking for it. Sven, they're already too low. Jukes one rocket, but Maple's got the double. TP from Hauntzer. Bjergsen finds Maple. They've been trying to lock down everybody. Maybe split a little too much, but Hauntzer is going to chase one down. Doublelift in onto Maple. Wants to take down the 1v1 as Bjerg will get Betty. Maple still firing away. Almost grabbed a triple, but TSM get the kills.
Wow, that was super close from both of these teams. Bjergsen comes in very clutch, but Maple put in so much work before it. Flash Wolves, though, still winning the map.
They win by so much here. That was a 2-for-2 on bot side. They get mid lane turret. They're denying all this farm on the top side, and they're going to get the top lane tier 2. Flash Wolves out to a massive advantage off of this play.
Well, MMD does finalize that turret. Now a 3-turret lead for Flash Wolves.
Got
Bit
him.
of an oopsie over the wall there.
Back into the same situation as last game, essentially now for TSM, down 5,000 gold again at 15 minutes. This early game has just been so bad for them, and they're trying to, again, get an Infernal, get something back for themselves, but this is a very scary position.
Well, they will again get that same Drake, so Infernal over to TSM, just like the last game. Not sure it's the way they drew it up, but at this point, that's what they have to take.
And we're now getting closer to a point where MMD will have the teleport up for himself. Again, a 6,000 gold, a little bit more than what it was last time, so you'll take that if you were the Flash Wolves. TSM, unfortunately, have fallen down 5k in their last game and come back. The question is, from this stage, though, how do Flash Wolves hit that mid-game? Something they've struggled to do.
Yeah, I mean, Renekton is such a mid-game powerhouse, though, at this point, and TSM, time and time again, double jumping in onto Betty, rejected time and time again there by SwordArT. They try to pull off this insect play, but not really enough damage to actually make this happen. And with the TP coming in, it's full retreat for TSM. And I love the target selection from Maple. Delete this Lulu, who's so squishy. Rushing towards the Ardent Sensor is just super intelligent.
And it looks like TSM are very cognizant of the rockets being thrown out by Maple, dodging a fair few of them through all these trades. But he had so much damage from his auto attacks again. This big one missing probably was the kill on a Doublelift just of Maple's own devices. But of course, then you've got a Kog'Maw running at him in the afterlife, getting his revenge. A Techno Cog. That's great.
Well, does get a kill over as Flash Wolves win the trade. And again, still up in turrets and pressuring Karsa down here. TSM 3v3 currently. MMD can join if he wants. Hauntzer cannot, with his TP being down.
MMD at level 11, going to be very quickly to that Titanic Hydra. This is pretty much as strong as you can ever get in the game as Renekton. This early on, he is going to be such a powerhouse. And if he ever gets onto Bjergsen or Doublelift, he can one-combo them.
Really nice ward there as well from Karsa. TP's coming in. Flash Wolves
got
committing everything. Doublelift just gets stunned up forever. Betty does take out Biofrost. Doublelift still somehow alive. And Karsa is going to chase him down and take him down. Sven will meet that same fate. Flash Wolves 3-0 in the dive.
And as much as it's cancelled, it does not matter in the end because the Flash Wolves are very strong through Maple and through the 2v2. Betty doing work, Maple doing so much more. Turrets go down, gold lead starts to grow, and you look at TSM, how are they trading? They're not.
No, I mean, the Janna has been so much more effective. Again, Lulu does not result in a lane advantage here for TSM, has been shown time and time again at this tournament. The Janna denying so much from Doublelift, being able to keep them alive, and now that you have Kog'Maw on a Rage Blade, you're massively stronger than the Tristana, who's just on the static shiv. And this is just very well executed 5-man attempted dive. The only need for in the end is Bjergsen cannot match the roam here from Maple.
Svenskeren tried his hardest to try and deter the team from killing his bottom lane. The ult was nice, but it's more of an afterthought because between Betty and SwordArT, still enough damage just from the two of them to lock down TSM.
And as bad as Flash Wolves' late game has been, a 7,000 gold lead at 18 minutes.
Surely.
Yeah, you have to think that this may be the game. This could be the game that potentially denies a quarterfinal entrance for TSM, because if TSM lose here, they are then dependent upon Misfits losing their next game.
And good timing on that one. We'll actually take a look at the gold. The last time these two teams played, remember, TSM had an epic game one of 50 minutes long, and look at the roller coaster they went on to win that one.
But keep in mind, that's only a 5k disadvantage at 30 minutes. We are a 7,000 gold disadvantage at 18 minutes. This is massively larger than the lead that Flash Wolves had, and Flash Wolves were inches away from winning the previous game.
Think of TSM at Worlds, it's almost like Bane from Batman, molded by the deficits.
Well, I mean, that's kind of been their story all season long, but going to have to fight their way out of a massive hole if they want to keep Destiny in their own hands. For now, though, Flash Rolls again continuing to play well in the early game and push things forward. MMD is unassailable here in this bot lane. Hauntzer is doing what he can to keep it even, but Karsa's going to make it very uneven. Hauntzer with an early flash, forced away. Karsa flashes on. Permafrost is landing there. Hauntzer absolutely cannot get out, and MMD just takes him down again.
Yeah, no such thing as safety for the top laner of TSM. Cho'Gath dies inside track to the rest of the map. Flash Wolves are running away with it.
That's 2 tier 2s, and Svenseren's going to die too.
Well, by the stump from the ultimate, they're going to get knocked around the wild growth. Not enough to save him. Buster Shot moves them back, but that's not it.
This could actually be an inhibitor for Flash Wolves. They can continue pushing mid lane. They may be on the way, just wrapping this game up.
Well, going to try and take this one down. Bjergsen here with 2 items, but he needs to make a big old play to keep Flash Rolls off this base turret. Betty tanks the turret, just does not care with the Janna behind him. And this turret is going to look to fall. TSM don't make a play soon.
Clock is ticking and it's also running out. You've got a Renekton who will also be able to push the bottom lane freely. Now he doesn't have teleport whilst Maple does, and so lane assignments are still an awkward thing for the Flash Wolves if TSM are in the confines of their own base, which they were. So Flash Wolves take the safe option, they'll back away, they'll reset. I would imagine it's either a pick they'll look for before the inhibitor, or it's big item spikes that they're after.
Well, we talk about TSM trying to mount a comeback. This is the biggest goal deficit at 20 in group stage at this World. So again, we talked about TSM looking for mid to late, team fighting their way out as the game moves on, but this will be the hardest task they have ever had at this tournament.
It certainly will, and while we did talk at the start about the fact that, hey, you can get these adaptive helms, you can get super tanky, you can maybe deal with some of the heavy magic damage coming out of the Flash Wolves, you can't when you're this far behind.
No.
The tanks are just so massively behind that they're not even close to where they need to be to withstand the onslaught. And from this stage, I feel like Flash Wolves just even has an easier late game.
Well, Maple and Bjergsen going to have a meeting. Bjergsen tagged first. Sven here, maybe a play is mounting, but not that safe for TSM. There's still a turret here for Maple and friends coming up.
Maple just clears the waves. They have to dive in with no minions.
Oh, interrupts that one. Flash out there from Maple. TP in there from Flash. There's Karsa over the side. Bjergsen forced to get away despite the stun landing on the Maple.
Coming in.
No, he's the one that has to flash away. Good rupture there onto MMD, but Bjergsen needs to keep running away. Sven not so lucky as Karsa and SwordArT going to clean that one up. A flare out from Sven. Going to try and get himself out of there, but Karsa should have this. Svenskeren still in the escape, but Doublelift dies on the other side of the map.
Yeah, Bjergsen may go down here as well. Betty is closing in with SwordArT. They already took down Doublelift. TSM may get wiped here.
Bjergsen have to do something. Biofrost going to get knocked up by SwordArT, but Flash Wolves, they want the big prize. Going to try and take down Bjergsen. MMD going to land the stun. Bjergsen fights his way out, but cannot do it.
That's just the Baron as well here for Flash Wolves, and I think they have this game fully wrapped up at this point. They have such an enormous lead. You secure the Baron. You're going to be over 12,000 gold ahead of TSM. And the 0-5 Flash Wolves look like they are going to be taking down TSM's #1 seed.
You're looking at the Baron, you're looking at the ability to siege coming from this Baron buff as well for the Flash Wolves roster. A 0-5 team at Worlds are able to make plays. It looks like it starts from TSM just being completely desperate, diving without minions, not knowing where the rest of the Flash Wolves roster is. They just get collapsed on, and they don't get the kill onto Maple. Very easy turnaround as a result of this from what TSM tried to start.
Yeah, the play just reeks of desperation. And look at Betty here in the 1v1 against Doublelift. SwordArT coming in, not even close. Betty ends that fight at essentially full health. The Kog'Maw has outscaled, is at a much stronger point than Doublelift is on this Tristana. And wrapping up Bjergsen as well, MMD playing it patiently. He has utilized his advantage, and Flash Wolves look poised.
And one big thing you can take away from this fight, why it looks so successful from the Flash Wolves, is they recalled. They all bought magic resistance before the fight happened. They acknowledge that Doublelift is a weak link right now as the team comps go, and that he's not going to do enough damage. So they itemize magic resistance, they run at Bjergsen knowing he's not going to do as much, proves to be very successful for them.
For TSM, you have to slow the game down. You have to be able to hold these waves. But I don't know that they can do it. With the Baron minions coming in, this inhibitor is sure to fall, it feels like.
Flash Wolves got a Mountain Drake in the replay there as well, so even easier to try and siege things up. Karsa just taking go down, and Doublelift getting shredded. He's dead already through the air.
That's
now
it.
Karsa going to leap in to try and end up Bjergsen with a decent ult, but he's going to go down to MMD. Carry's dead, and TSM's dreams will die with them.
Flash Wolves are going to pull off the upset here. They're looking just for the end, going to escort the Baron minions in. Completely dominant performance. They will get their one win, and TSM's fate is now reliant on a WE win.
Karsa flashing back in. Flash was just here to finish the task. Svenskeren gonna get locked down under the turret. MMD now dominating as he takes that one down. Again, Hauntzer stunned up for days. The Nexus turret's just getting torn to shreds. And Flash rules, they may only win once, but it hurts so bad.
That is an upset if ever you've seen one. The blue shell of the Flash Wolves roster come through. They wipe out TSM, and suddenly, yes, the fate of TSM does rest on Misfits. But boy, have they set themselves up for failure, not success.
I mean, you just saw it right there. TSM has had the worst early game in the entire tournament, you have to say. And Flash Wolves, their strength was the early game. And finally, with Karsa being able to get involved, with his success in the top side of the map, pairing up with MMD, utilizing this advantageous matchup, they're able to snowball the game and really take advantage. And TSM on the other side of the map, what did they get out of the Lulu and Tristana? To me, it did not feel like anywhere close to enough.
Unfortunately for them, history will repeat itself. TSM lost a tiebreaker to Flash Wolves at MSI this year, and we're in danger of bowing out once again. Flash Wolves will take their final bow of the tournament. I mean, good early games have been great for them. In some ways, it felt like they were due for a win, but TSM just could not hold the dam, and it flooded all over the rift.
And credit where it's due to all of Flash Wolves for having that mid-game, for snowballing the game well enough by getting advantages that they could end the game itself and not having any kind of mid-game, even as a necessity. It feels like we skipped that part of the game where they usually lose. We just went straight to team fighting. They did look very good when they got those full team fights off, and whilst it's a reinvigorated look from the Flash Wolves, they were 0-5 when they got there. So it does put them at 1-5, means they don't go without a win at Worlds. Credit to them for playing well in that last game, but it doesn't mean anything for them, unfortunately.
Certainly does not, but going from winning to losing to winning seems like a lot better for Flash. I mean, it does feel bittersweet that the formula could not be figured out earlier than that for the team, but I mean, if you're gonna win once, might as well make TSM fans real mad, because they are in trouble now.
They certainly are. Now the best case for TSM in this group is actually a tiebreaker with Misfits. You have to hope that WE beats Misfits, then TSM would be tied 3-3 with them. They have split the difference in the games. That would force another tiebreaker, which TSM would then have to win. So they have lost control of their destiny here today and are dependent upon the Chinese team getting first seed.
Well, I think if we learn anything from day one of this week is that nothing is certain at Worlds. But for more on that Flash Wolves win, let's head over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. All of North America and TSM fans around the world are now very big WE fans, as they'll rely on them taking down Misfits in the next game to even force a tiebreaker. But an exceptionally dominant game out of the Flash Wolves here to pick up their one and only victory in the group stage and to close their Worlds run on a high note.
Yeah, we do need to celebrate the Flash Wolves. Like, yes, it was a very rough run, but they have come very close in a couple of these games. It's just that inability to close on the late game. But it didn't matter here because we really didn't have a late game.
Oh, definitely not. I want to take a look at the picks here, because at first glance, we see the composition come through at TSM. And what was the one thing we said should be final picked here by Flash Wolves?
Trundle.
Trundle. What was picked? Renekton.
No, hilariously, Mithy was sitting next to us. He's like, they need to pick Trundle here. And then as soon as the Renekton gets locked in, he's like, what is that?
I mean, to be honest, it is a baffling pick.
But that's what made the snowball off that Renekton so important. Karsa getting up there to actually snowball this Renekton and having the Renekton be a meaningful part of their early game and a meaningful part of their late game was so big. All right, well, now we're going to get into a replay here of the early start for the top side.
Yeah, here we can see that both junglers start on different sides, and Hauntzer's wave is bad after his jungler starting top side, and then he just dies and then dies again and dies one more time. And
But it's interesting, right? Because in the beginning of the day, we talked about the weakness for TSM that people should attack is the bot lane, and that's where we saw teams going. And so the last place you'd think for them to return now is into that top lane, to the highest performing member on TSM in Hauntzer, perhaps.
But that's the first thing you think when you see a Renekton, is top lane, an early game, right? And the first thing that you were saying was that you should protect this Cho'Gath for the first base, right? So he was like, Svenskeren should do something up here to be on the top side, have some presence, just protect Cho'Gath at least for one buy.
yeah, as soon as Cho'Gath has Bramble Vest, I think he's really fine in the matchup. Maybe he can lose his tower, but he's so much he's just so much better champion that it really doesn't matter. It's just that his wave control early game was bad, and that made him die as many times as he died. I think even if Flash was playing Trundle, the same thing would have happened. The wave control top was bad, and that pretty much doomed the early game for TSM.
Getting punished in the early game, Svenskeren still not finding the right places to be on the map. Let's go ahead and roll to 14 minutes into the game. Bot lane, party here for Flash Wolves, picking up some kills while a whole bunch else is happening elsewhere on the map.
And this might be the hope for TSM to climb back into the game. The issue is that the Ardent Sensor is complete, the Corki's about to teleport in, and his damage is going to be absurd in tandem with Trinity and Ardent.
That hurts, that hurts. Triforce plus Ardent and the Janna shield just AD is very, very, very strong.
Yeah, it looked like TSM were making the call to kind of turn this around as Bjergsen was heading down the river, but they dilly-dally a little bit too long, and then they don't see the Kog'Maw ultimate coming through as well, coming for the extra little kill.
And the thing to really note as we lose track of the minimap there is that while all of this is happening, Renekton and Sejuani are continuing to push. So not only do we trade practically even for even on the kills on bot side, but then you get the big global gold advantage from what's happening with the tower gold.
They lost top tier 2 and mid tier 1. So.
Exactly, and that was because of the Rift Herald picked up for the top lane advantage that was built early on. So for Flash Wolves, I mean, you mentioned it, Frost, they didn't have to go to the late game, but this time around, they played with their advantage correctly.
And you know, Mythic, you talked about the importance when we were watching that game of just breaking the tower, of not sitting in the lane, of trying to snowball that Renekton, so you didn't get into a situation where Cho'Gath would simply outscale.
Yeah, there was not even a fight for Cho'Gath to take. They tried to TP bot and try to get Cho'Gath into an even fight, but Renekton didn't TP. They still went even, and yeah, it just went downhill from there.
Let's talk about what this means for TSM in the group, though. As is mentioned, they're not in control of their own destiny here, relying on Team WE to win to even force that tiebreaker. But let's pretend the tiebreaker does take place. Do we even feel like this TSM in their current form can really challenge Misfits?
I mean, we technically did just see that, you know, the Misfits came out swinging, they pulled out the Yasuo, they had the Blitzcrank, it was very explosive, but TSM were still able to get to that late game. I feel like if Misfits just adjust their draft a little bit, maybe don't go super crazy on something like the Yasuo, things do get much scarier for TSM, but their team fighting still looks crisper.
I would just like to see TSM stop doing so many silly mistakes, really. Like, the game before this one, their jungler doesn't just go blue to red, which is pretty obvious that he has to, and then this game, Hauntzer doesn't make the wave top good for him, or the jungler doesn't start bot side to cover top, and there's such silly mistakes that they go after the game and they're like, hey, we lost our whole early game just because of this stupid thing.
I'm with you. I'd love to stop having mini heart attacks, but apparently the NA teams are set on doing that to me. Flash Wolves just secured their first win at Worlds 2017. Let's head over to Shox to hear from their mid laner.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here to talk to Maple. Obviously, it's a very bittersweet moment because the Flash Wolves are still out of the tournament. But Maple, can you get any joy from the fact that you guys did play a fantastic last game at least and pulled out a big win versus TSM?
恭喜你们刚刚获得胜利。那虽然闪亮已经被淘汰，那目前对于上一场比赛的感想是如何？
就最后一场我们打得比较没有压力吧，就是大家都打得比较放开打，然后就是最后我们就一直喊杀杀杀这样。
we definitely felt less pressure in our last game, so we were playing, you know, pretty relaxed, and everybody was like, go, go, go for the kill.
Yeah, that looked like it a very action-packed game as well, but overall, Maple, obviously, it was a bad Worlds for the Flash Wolves. How do you look back on the performance, and what would you like to tell the fans?
残亮这次表现不如预期，那有什么话想要跟粉丝说的吗？有什么感想吗？
就是我们对自己就是前几场的表现也感到很失望吧，就是我们很多细节都没有做好，然后发挥也没有我们训练赛来的好。就是我们训练赛其实算是打得还 OK 的，但是我们比赛就是发挥得很差这样。
We were definitely disappointed in our performance in our previous games. We went into scrims looking pretty strong, but then our performance on the real games didn't do that well, so we're disappointed.
All right, well, I think we should leave it at that. Thank you so very much for talking to us. Maple, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, it is that all-important match of Misfits versus Team WE. Don't go anywhere.
Permafrost it up as well. Rupture not going to be it here. Is Hauntzer going to try and maybe flash away? I don't think he can do it. Red buff almost enough. He flashes up at Karsa. Knockup there is wonderful, but Biofrost taking a damage. Package is massive. Oh, wild growth, not enough.
Bjergsen is coming down, though. They could potentially turn this.
Doublelift looking for it. Sven, they're already too low. Maple still firing away. Almost grabbed a triple. Sven gonna try and get himself out of there, but Karsa should have this. Svenskeren still on the escape, but Doublelift dies on the other side of the map. Doublelift getting shredded. He's dead already through the air.
That's
now
it.
Karsa gonna leap in to try and end up Bjergsen with a decent ult, but he's gonna go down to MMD. And Flash rules, they may only win once, but it hurts so bad.